Hi, welcome back. In this lecture, I will teach you how to use select where limit order to do some basic SQL operations. Let's get started. First of all, I wanted to show you what the select statement looks like. If you're already very familiarized with the select statement, feel free to fast forward. I'll jump into the exercises directly. For those of you who are not super familiar with SQL, a select statement is basically a way to tell the database engine what kind of data you want to extract. You always start with a select statement with the select keyword. Then you can follow that by a list of columns and end with a from table name. Here's a quick example. I have a table called actor, and I wanted to retrieve all the records from this actor table. There's a shortcut for listing out all the column names, which is star. If I say select star from actor, basically what I'm telling the database engine is that I want to retrieve all the records and all the columns from this actor table. Another example, if I don't want to retrieve all the columns from this actor table, I can specify the column names that I'm interested in. So basically what I'm doing here is I wanted to select the first name and last name from this actor table. It's very similar to natural language. Next, I wanted to talk about where clause. Very often, you don't want to return all the results from this table, especially when the table is very big. You should always try to avoid select star from this table, and where clause allows you to specify the criteria of what kind of results or what kind of rows you want to return in the results. Where clause is often used at the end of the SQL statement. So in here, I wanted to select a few different columns, and I wanted to add a where condition to specify which results I want to return. In this first example, I'm only interested to look at the records of all the actors whose first name is equal to Dan, and that's where this where clause comes in. I can also combine different conditions together, creating a more complicated Boolean logic. So in this second example, I'm not only just wanting to retrieve records whose first name equals to Dan, but also I wanted to find out who else also can be referred as Dan. Now it's time to talk a little bit about tips and tricks regarding where conditions. In my last example, I have this select statement where I'm interested to find out who's first among all the actors whose first name equals to Dan. And very often, depends on the database implementation, the text case sensitivity is not always guaranteed. So I may be able to get results who's spelled not exactly as Dan or in uppercase. If it is a case insensitive implementation, I will be able to get records whose name start with capital D and then followed by two lowercase a and n, but it's not always guaranteed. So the tricks here is that if during your interview you're not told whether this database is case sensitive or case insensitive, you should be very careful about your where condition. It's always a good idea to clarify the case sensitivity of this database implementation with your interviewer. It can showcase that you are very familiar with case sensitivity, and you can leave a good impression in front of this interviewer. And if the interviewer does not have a very good idea, or he or she simply want to trick you, you can always use a more complicated Boolean logic to return the results regardless of the case sensitivity. And in here, basically what I'm doing here is I'm using the same select statement, but I want to return all the records, and regardless of whether this database is case sensitive or not. So what I'm doing here is I first convert all the records first name into lowercase. and I'm comparing the lowercase first name to DAN, all in lowercase, to get all the results I wanted. The next SQL operator is order by. Very often you wanted to return the results in a consistent order. That's where order by came in. Order by is a SQL keyword for you to sort all the results based on your preferences. And ordering is not guaranteed if order by is not included in your SQL statement. That is very, very important. If order by is not included in the SQL statement, you cannot assume the same ordering will be kept from time to time. It's very important to keep that in mind. And order by is often or almost always used after select from and where. And here's a quick example. I wanted to retrieve the first name and last name of all the actors, and I want to order the results based on the first name. And if there are multiple records who share the same first name, then the results will be ordered by the last name. Very often, order by can be combined with other conditions or other statements, such as where. So here I wanted to retrieve all the actors' records whose first name equals to Dan, and I want to order them by the last name. Now it's time to talk about tips and tricks of order by. By default, the results are always ordered ascendingly if you use order by. And very often in your interview, you will be asked to return top results by numerical columns. And if you don't specify order by descendingly, you'll always make a mistake. I've seen a lot of mistakes that people forgot to add order descendingly in the interview. So make sure you always use order descendingly in your interview if it is referred to top results for numerical values. The last operator in this lecture is limit. Very often you don't want to return too many results, and especially if this table is very big. Limit allows you to specify the maximum number of rows to return. Limit does not guarantee you the number of results, but it will guarantee you the maximum number of rows to return. So if your table, for example, this actor table has only 2 rows, and you do limit 5, you won't get 5 results. You will get 2 rows only. In the second example, I wanted to find out the largest payment amount in this payment table. And I'm combining limit with order by. So I first order by these results based on the amount they spend descendingly, so that the largest amount of spend will appear on the first result. And then I'm limit 1 result so that I will get the top spend only. Now it's time to do some exercises to reinforce your learning in this section. And there are 4 exercises that I handpicked on SQLpad.io, and they're numbered from number 1 to number 4. Go to SQLpad.io and finish those 4 exercises. For each one of those exercises, I have prepared a solution, and I highly recommend that you try your best before looking at my solution. But if you're really stuck, for example, you cannot solve one problem after 5 minutes of try, you can take a look at my solution, or we can go to the next lecture where I'm going to show you my solution step by step. See you next time.